Hello everyone, Crow here again, and I've been tagged by techromancer1. This is the Gamestop tag. I believe it was started by the Unbiased Gamer. Basically, it's a whole bunch of questions about hating GameStop. Now, I don't completely hate GameStop, but there sure is a lot to hate about it, so I'm going to go ahead and answer this tag. First question is, what are 3 things that your GameStop does that pisses you off? Now, I think I can name more than 3 things, but let's see. Very first thing is the stickers they put all over the used game. Not only do they put 3 stickers on it, they put the price on the front, the price on the side, and then they put their own UPC sticker to stick over the UPC symbol that already exists on the back of the box. Not only do they do that, but they do it on the insert on the inside of the game. So they actually pull it out and put the stickers on there. Now, not only is it harder to get the stickers off of there, but the fact that there's 3 of them makes it 3 times as difficult. And the fact that in my collection database, I have to use the UPC symbol. I don't have to, but I like to enter the games and using the UPC symbol. It means I have to take off all the stickers, and I would take them off anyway, just trying to make the game as decent as possible. But I don't buy that many used games from GameStop to begin with because they're kind of overpriced. You don't really see that many great deals on used games there. Plus, their used games only go back to PS2 and Xbox. Or in GameCube, that generation. According to GameStop, there were no game systems, before that time, I guess. And so, as a kind of a retro collector, it's kind of, GameStop's kind of a worthless place. So, the second thing is the fact that they'll sell used games without, the original boxes. And this, it's because of the customers that use GameStop a lot. The parents of the kids that will get games and then take the disc out or take the DS card out and then throw away the boxes. And then GameStop will sell those used games for the same price as if they had the box and the instructions. And it's just ridiculous. When I go in there, it's 70% of the games don't have boxes. You're just looking at a wall of generic labeled boxes because there's no box. Because like there was one lady that was selling games at GameStop. It was like this mom of this kid or something like that, and she was returning DS games and they didn't have boxes. And I asked her, why don't you have the boxes? And she's like, boxes? I throw away the boxes when I get the games. To them it's just wasted space, but to somebody like me, it's like part of something you bought, and it helps protect the game when you're not playing it. So it just seems totally ridiculous to me that so many people would throw away boxes to the games, and then GameStop would just sell it as if it didn't matter. In fact, my fiance went and wanted to try and find a copy of Resident Evil Dead Aim for the DS, and she asked the guy behind the counter if they had it, and he's like, yeah, we have it, and proceeded to give her just the DS card. And she's like, well, where's the box and the instructions? And the guy didn't understand why she would want those things. She's like, he's like, I got the game. All you need is the game. You don't need the box or the instructions. And she's like, no, is there a GameStop in the area that does have the box and the instructions? And the guy's like, whoa, you're not going to find any place that has the box and the instructions for this game. And, well, she went to a closer GameStop and they did have the box and the instructions. But this is the fact that even the employees there don't understand why people would want the box to a game. It just blows my mind. Third question is, third answer to this question is, the fact that they sell open games is new. Now, I could kind of understand this so long ago when they would put boxes on the shelves. I guess they would have a shipment of the game, and they'd have to open up one of the boxes to put that box on the wall. So, like, if you got the last copy of the game, they'd be like, oh, this is the last copy of the game. In fact, I've had them ask me this back in the days when the PlayStation 1, they were selling PlayStation 1 games new. And they're like, well, the only copy we have is this copy, but we've opened it because of the display. And they're like, do you still want it? And I'm like, okay, yeah, because it was kind of a hard game to find at the time. But now it seems like if you're buying a game that's new and the game has been out for like a month or so, you're guaranteed to get a copy of the game that's already been opened, and they're going to sell it to you at a new price. So it's just kind of messed up, I think. And there's whole rants and everything about that whole issue where the GameStop employees can take the games home, play them, and then they can still sell them as new, when in fact they're not new because they've been played. So yeah, it's I guess that's something a lot of people don't like. Second question. I need a drink. I'm thirsty. What are 2 games you have bought from GameStop that you had to return because they were defective? I've never bought defective games from GameStop, mainly because I stopped buying used games from there quite some time ago. I very rarely buy used games from there, and they always seem to work, so I have no problem with that. Third question, have you ever bought a broken console from GameStop? No. I do buy new game consoles from GameStop occasionally. Very rarely, though. Like, I think the last new game console I bought from GameStop was the PS2, actually. And that was on launch date. But I did buy a used PS2. I was looking, because PS Slims were like new, and they weren't really selling new PS2 the fat versions, and I needed a fat version, so I wanted to mod a PS2, and I needed that space for the hard drive, and I was looking for a specific serial model number 2, and a GameStop happened to have it, and the system worked. The problem was that the case was all sticky from something. They never even bothered to clean it up. I had to clean it up, but then I replaced the shell anyway, so it was all a moot point anyway. But the fact that they were going to sell like a PlayStation 2 where a whole side of the case was sticky, it was like somebody had a sticker on it and they peeled the sticker off and then they never cleaned off the residue from the sticker. Just the fact that they never cleaned it off, that kind of really irked me, but not so much so because I was going to replace the case anyway, and all I really wanted was the internal stuff. So yeah, that's that. Let's see. Fourth question, last question. What is the worst experience you ever had in GameStop? Now, I really haven't had really bad experiences with GameStop, but I really hate the way they're doing their game system reserves. Like when the Wii came out, I wanted to reserve a Wii when I heard it was announced at E3 that year. I think back in 2006. So I go to the GameStop and I'm like, can I reserve a Wii? Oh no, you can't reserve a Wii. We're going to have a date where you can come in and reserve the Wii. Well, what wound up happening is that people wind up lining up in front of GameStop to reserve the Wii. And you know, I worked that day, and I went there after work and asked them if I could reserve a Wii. Oh no, we took all our reserves already. People were lined up in front of the store for hours just to reserve the Wii. And it turned out for the best anyway, because I wound up waiting in line at Target and wound up getting at Target like way earlier. Well, it wasn't a midnight release, but I got it early enough in the day where it didn't really matter. And I didn't really have to, you know, if I didn't do that, I might have, that was when all the Wii shortages and all that. So, but the way they used to do it, like back in the PS2, is like March 2000. The PS3 was going to be released in 6 months. And I pretty much knew the people at the GameStop where I was going to at the time, and they put me on a waiting list, and I kept getting bumped up the list because other people were dropping out and stuff. And sure enough, you know, on launch day, I managed to go and get my PS2. Just because I had gone there early enough. Whereas nowadays, it doesn't matter how early you go there, you can't reserve it until they tell you can reserve it. So I thought that their whole new system just caters to people who don't have to work for a living, I guess. You know, they can afford to wait in line at a GameStop hours before the store opens, so they can reserve a system, just so they can wait in line again when the system is released. So that, you know, just. You know, whatever. You know, I don't think I'll ever reserve a game system from GameStop again, unless they go back to the old system where you can reserve. It doesn't matter. You know, if you've heard about the system, you can reserve it. That kind of deal. So, you know, that's the GameStop tag. Thanks, Techromancer, tagging me again. That's it. I'm not going to tag anybody. So, see y'all next time. Bye. Oh.